This property is, of course, the site of the Clermont Plantation, and that plantation goes back at least to 1735, and the Wilson family, who built a dwelling here and managed this plantation. But we associate it primarily, of course, with the Spaight family. Richard Dobbs Spaight, of course, was an important patriot. He was an officer in the Revolutionary War, as was his neighbor, Abner Nash. And then they also contributed greatly to early nation building, including participation in the creation of the United States Constitution. And of course, one of the important things about this site is for some of these important historical figures, like, of course, Richard Dobbs Spaight Sr., Richard Dobbs Spaight Jr., other members of the Wilson and Spaight families, all are buried here on the site in a grave site that is publicly accessible just off of Madam Moore's Lane. And so not only does this property have all those memories, it also has an appropriate burial place for these early nation builders. Urena McDonald, who willed this property to Tryon Palace, had a great love of history. She had a tremendous love of nature. She was a birder. She was interested in all forms of natural life. Her father was a Scotsman, Hugh MacDonald. Her mother was American, very interested in American history, and her mother was a strong member of the DAR, as was Urena. And so she very much wanted this property to be a place where those participants in the Revolution and early nation building could be honored, but also that people could visit and appreciate the flora and fauna of our area.
Yes, I remember the first time I came out here, it wasn't as clean as it is now. There was a lot of more trees down the driveway here. It was more like an entrance way than it is now. I came out here with some other co-workers to just view the site and see what it was about. There was a lot of excitement about Clermont property and about what we planned to do here. I enjoy because, you know, in the beginning when the palace was first reconstructed, I wasn't there at that time, but here I get a chance to sort of put my input into this property. Hopefully, maybe through these pathways, get my name put on one of them. I don't know. But I'm excited about what we're doing here. And the way that Tryon Palace is handling this operation here is quite amazing, because we are doing everything, taking all the proper steps, making sure nature is kept and not damaged, and it's just great. The things that I see the most is the great magnolia trees and the beautiful azaleas and the different bulbs and plants in the ground and other things to discover. And right now, today, while I'm here now, we're opening up pathways, and we are beginning to see some of the things she really planted, and it's sort of amazing. And I think it's going to be really great for the public once they get a chance also to experience this opportunity. Even in the initial state when she gave it to us, she knew that she placed it in the hands of those who would bring this property to life.
Shortly after I became the new executive director of Tryon Palace, I was told about Clermont. Had never been here. I didn't know about it. I didn't understand the history. I came out for the first time with a large group of our staff and Marine volunteers from Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. We spent the better part of 3 days doing clearing, pulling vines, bush hogging. That was all designed to begin to restore this beautiful property, this beautiful plantation, to the condition in which it was years ago when it was first given to Tryon Palace by Mrs. McDonald. My first impressions were, what a jewel sitting right here in New Bern along the river, largely undisturbed. The other thing I saw as we began to strip away the undergrowth and the vines that had gotten entwirled and twined around trees and shrubs, was the evidence of Mrs. McDonald's care and attention to the beauty of her home and the setting. So now we're out here in the springtime, so you see popping up everywhere around the house and between the house and the river, irises, there are rhododendron, there are azaleas, there's wisteria hanging from the trees. So you can see that Mrs. McDonald took a great deal of care and attention, and that this must have been a really beautiful home for her. You know, the history that we are preserving at Tryon Palace is not just about wars and governments and documents. It's also about this beautiful natural world in which we live. Part of this mission here at Clermont is to make sure that we preserve the wildlife habitat, that we respect the animals that are here. One of the things we're doing today is cutting trails. We're cutting trails so that we can begin the process of designing paths for members of the public, maybe groups like the Scouts or other civic organizations, where we can invite them to come to Clermont and view the habitat, enjoy this natural setting, and appreciate the history that Clermont Plantation represents. At the time Governor Spaight owned this plantation and it was a working plantation, there would have been traffic between here and New Bern and Tryon Palace as crops were harvested and brought to market. One of our objectives is to find a way to reconnect Clermont with New Bern and Tryon Palace by river. So that will be a part of our planning for the future. People are used to thinking of Tryon Palace as this big, beautiful building that was restored, and then this awesome building, that's the North Carolina History Center, and those two missions and the way that they are integrated. They're not generally thinking about us as stewards of a plantation and a farm. And for that reason, we're being very, very careful, very thoughtful about what we do with Clermont Plantation. In Tryon Palace, we want to respect the history of Clermont Plantation. We want to respect the wishes of Urena McDonald, who gave this as a gift to Tryon Palace and the people of North Carolina. And we want to find the best ways in which we can involve the community in what we're doing as a service to the citizens of North Carolina in furtherance of our mission to preserve our history. And so my role as executive director is to make sure that everything we do here is to preserve and protect and to provide this as a community resource for our citizens and the people of North Carolina.